want to tell you a story. It's a story of betrayal, of revolution, and maybe the future of humanity. The media calls them the bro-oligarchy, and they're changing the way America does politics. Welcome to the New Right broadcast. This is the story of how the left lost big tech. Our story starts in everyone's least favorite year, 2020. The nation was burning down. Riots, the rise of COVID, the economy in shambles, but behind the scenes, a shadow effort was preparing for an election. As Time magazine put it, they were a well-funded cabal of powerful people working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules and laws, and control the flow of information. Mark Zuckerberg alone put $300 million towards changing local election laws all across the country. These left-wing resistance organizations started years in advance to game the system, move laws in their favor, create chaos in the street, and censor their political opponents while putting immense pressure on big business and big tech to fund the entire thing.
CNN projects Joseph R. Biden Jr. is elected the 46th president of the United States.
And it worked. Biden won. The Trump era was over. But the COVID era was just beginning. And so was a new shadow group, led by an unlikely pair of tech bros. Peter Thiel, one of the earliest Facebook investors, teamed up with Curtis Yarvin, a software engineer turned political theorist. Together, they envisioned a revolution. It was right around this time, just after January 6th, that Yarvin posted his thoughts on political upheaval. I'm paraphrasing because the article is no longer in his archives, but the gist was this: if you're going to do a coup, do it right, and move decisively when the time comes. Yarvin argued it would take years to organize something bigger and longer lasting than January 6th, and it would only be possible if they started immediately. In 2022, Vanity Fair got into a party just as those talks were really starting to take hold. What they saw, they described as the new right. This included podcasters, anonymous Twitter posters, philosophers, artists, and tech bros. A lot of them. Variety said this movement at its core was a project to overthrow the thrust of liberal progress. But the movement wasn't against all progress, it was just for a different kind of progress that most of us hadn't even imagined. And Thiel was there. Remember, one of Facebook's earliest investors, he had the ear of Zuckerberg. He had the ear of Silicon Valley, who were starting to get very upset with the amount of government interference going on. In the throes of COVID, they didn't like that they were being told what to do, who to censor, and what views were acceptable on their own platforms. You see, it was one thing when the tech world made a deal with the devil to overturn Trump in 2020. They knew what that meant, but they didn't realize they wouldn't be partners with the new government, they'd be slaves. And that's when SVB happened.
Bank that serves the tech industry collapses in the second biggest bank failure in U.S. history. Regulators have now taken control of Silicon Valley Bank.
For most of you, the collapse of the local Silicon Valley Bank may not have meant much, but if you were in tech circles, this was financial instability we hadn't seen since the Lehman Brothers Bank was allowed to fail in 2008. SVB was the primary bank for a lot of these tech founders, and the government didn't step in to help them. They'd fought alongside each other to overturn Trump, and then they'd been made into a police arm against so-called disinformation that people were quickly learning was actually true. And then when it mattered most, they got left out in the cold. And the revolutionaries, Curtis Yarvin and Peter Thiel, now had a captive audience. Suddenly, an explosion of ideas happened in what was once considered to be one of the most liberal sectors of the entire country. More and more, these ideas weren't allowed to be said online, but they could be said in whispers and behind closed doors of the very offices forced to do the censorship of the government's hand. Populism was rising. Policies really for the people, not just pretending to be. The tech bros, the business leaders, the bro-oligarchy, whatever you want to call it. It's not even libertarianism anymore. It's a complete merging of the state and of business to work together towards a common goal. Zuckerberg is reaching into the next level of human connection, and he needs total cultural freedom to do that. Sam Altman is reaching towards superhuman computing, and he needs national levels of power for that. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are reaching for the stars and to Mars, and they need Apollo mission level funding for that. It isn't enough anymore for the state to get out of the way. For the broligarchy, the state has to be on board. That's the only way forward. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to see what we have coming next, and I'll see you next time.